This module about Python function and scope of variables. Myself Konkon Jana, Assistant Professor of Greater Kolkata College of Engineering and Management. JIS Group, it's a joint venture. So the topics in module 6 that we will cover are Python function, introduction, categories of function, built-in function, user-defined function, function definition, calling a function, function with arguments, function with an argument and return type, function with default argument, function with variable length argument, key value pair as variable length argument, pass by reference versus pass by value, scope of variables, local variables, global variables, and very basic of memory management, stack or runtime stack, and heap. We will do more coding exercise on Python. For coding practice and exercise, I am using Python IDE with Python 3.8.3 shell, and I am using digital whiteboard for better clarification. Note down the text what I am writing in this digital whiteboard. In this lecture, we will be covering functions. Functions with arguments, function with arguments and return value, function with default arguments, function with variable arguments, key value pairs. All this will be covered in this lecture. Finally, we will be discussing on the scope of the variable. First question arising in the mind of the beginner would be, what are functions? And why are they necessary in any programming language? What are functions? Functions are nothing but a small programming unit in construct that generates a designated output. What I have told you, what is about function? Function, a program segment. Function, in short, it is need to remember a program segment. This is a program segment. Okay. Now, know about the method also. A method is an identical function in terms of name, except that it is called on object, that is access through object, and passed on the data. Whereas a function is called directly by name and passed on the data to operate. Another thing you need to mind, a method is something that belongs to an object or in object-oriented programming class, which contains the method. So in this section we will study more about function. What I have told you about function and method. Function call directly to the program, whereas method access through object using member access operator. Okay, member access operator. Object, this is the object, this is the method with arguments. Dot, this is called the member access operator. This is the member access operator. I will discuss about method in details later. Now go for very simple code to know function in Python. First I will write down very simple code to illustrate function in Python. DEF, this is the keyword. What I am writing, what I have write, I will explain it after write down the code. I am in function. Okay. This portion is the function, user defined function portion. Okay, user defined function portion. I will tell you later. This is main code segment. This is main code segment. And I have write down the function again there. Okay. Clear? So now I have written this on here. Fn is the function, I have called it. This is the main code segment. Okay. Now run it. Now I need to run this program. This is main code segment. I am in function fn. So what you can see here, this is the main code segment. Here you have defined this function there and you have called it. Okay. What we have written there, I will discuss it later. So this is the function that we like to use there. Okay. Now I will know about the categories of function. Functions in programming language can fall into two broad categories: built-in function, user-defined function. Built-in function, user-defined function. What is about built-in function? Built-in function, they are predefined by programming languages and each serve a specific purpose. While some built-in functions cannot be customized, some can be customized as per the programming guidelines laid down by a specific programming languages. So the Python language also comes with a set of built-in function, such as already we have learned len function, CMP compare function. These all are the built-in function. So what you have learned about the built-in function? Built-in function. What you need to gist out? Predefined programming language, that is predefined in pre-programming language. Predefine it in programming, predefined by programming language. Programming language. Okay. So this is about the built-in function. Now come to the point, that is user-defined function. This module is about the user-defined function. How to define function by the user. They are defined by user as per their programming requirement. Function can be created or can exist in various forms in any programming language. In this section, we will learn in depth about various ways in which we can create a function. So what I have told you, user-defined function. User-defined function. What is about user-defined function? That is defined by user. What is about built-in function? Defined by programming language, developed by the programming language. Now already I have given example of user-defined function. Now we will discuss part of the function. Part of the function. How to define a function? Okay. How to define a function? That is the function definition. There are some simple rules to define a function in Python. Use the def keyword followed by function name with parenthesis. Any argument to the function must be placed within this parenthesis. The code block must start with a colon. The code within the function must be indented, otherwise it will be very difficult to understand by the compiler. It cannot be understood by the compiler. Not difficult, it cannot be understood by the compiler at all. So what we have seen there, def is the keyword, fn is the function name, arguments you need to specify there. This is the name of the arguments. Okay, after that you need to insert colon and now intended it. The code block will be there. Okay, code block will be there. It's the return value. At last there will be return value. This is optional. So what about the keyword def? I have told is the keyword used to define function in Python. Okay, and fn is the function name. The function name. Now what about arguments? Arguments is also optional. When it is required, you need to define, otherwise not. This is optional. This is optional. Okay. Now what about return statement? The return statement also is optional. I will discuss it later. A keyword used to return value which is optional also. Okay, so this all about the function definition. This is the syntax of any function definition in Python. If there are any arguments, they are written inside the parenthesis. If no argument is there, and if the function has any return value, that would be the last statement in any function code block or function body, and not it necessary to be the last statement. Within a block, if you use the conditional statement, it will be the last statement immediately, and the function body start immediately after the colon sign and ends with return value. Okay, but return value in Python, the body of any code block which start after a colon must be indented using spaces or else with the tab. This eliminates basically indentation errors. Indentation errors, it cannot be read by the compiler, which the interpreter might throw while running the program. So this is about the basic of function. Okay, so what we have done in our code, in very simple code, what we have done, our code. Now def keyword we have used to define the function. Fn is the function name here. Okay, we have used the parenthesis. Within this parenthesis, if it is required, I will pass the arguments. If it is not required, I will not pass the argument. That's why it is optional. Here in this function definition, I intended the code. Again, we have used the colon. I miss it. We have used the colon. After that, the body will be start. The function body will be start. Function body means a code of segment will be started. That you can use again and again. You not need to write down the code repeatedly. Okay. So this is the body of the function. Here I have write down the statement, but I did not use any return statement here. Is there any return statement? No, there is no return statement. That's because in my program, in this program, return statement is not required that one. After that, what I have done? This is the main code portion. This is the main code portion. Here you can write down any other code. And I have called the function fn within this portion. You can call the function within another function also. When I have called this function within this function, then this code will be executed. The code written within this function will be executed, and the value and the outputted value will be like that. This is the main code portion code. Main code portion statement I have written. This is main code segment, and if you call this code will be executed, and the output will be so I am in fn function. This is main code segment, and I am in fn function. Just I like to run it again. Okay. So this is about the definition of function. Thank you.